All right, my friends, welcome back to the channel. Today, we we're going to talk about what's new in FPV for June 2025, and hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. Just checking my audio here with my mic. We've got a lot to talk about today. There's a lot happening in the last couple weeks with a lot of the new executive orders that are coming down the pipe. Specifically, DJI has uh, a shorter time frame now with the DoD to go through their process to find out whether they can be sold in the United States, and that's one of the biggest things we're up against right now in the FPV hobby. I mean, if you're brand new to the FPV hobby, welcome in. But man, it's a wild and crazy time to be getting into it right now, because one of the most major brands that we use, their components are used in a lot of our bind and flies. This is the Mark V. We've got the 04 on the back. If there was a DJI ban, this would effectively ban any of these types of parts being included in our bind and fly drone. So if that does happen, and we're not sure exactly if that will happen, hopefully they will have some type of uh, operational clause that they can work with the federal government. Maybe they do some of the assembly here in the United States and make sure that things are not, spying on Americans. And so, with that said, I think that they're going to probably have some type of resolution. I did see today that President Trump had worked out a deal with China. So that is news. I don't know if it's good news. I did hear something about a 10% tariff and a 50% tariff. If somebody in the chat wants to let me know exactly what's happening with that. I was busy setting up the stream for today, so um, I'm not 100% sure about what those numbers are. But we're talking about the possibility of the DJI ban. That it is on the White House website. You can see the executive orders speeding up this process, and then also kind of not exactly banning Chinese drone sales, which is great news for the FPV hobby in the U.S. because about 90% of our parts come from China, and companies like Beta FPV, uh, get Gap RC and iFlight, main companies, and we have a bunch of others, Darwin FPV and uh, now Deep Space. And you guys saw a brand new review on a 3-inch drone. If you missed this review this week, you've got to check this one out. This is the Deep Space Seeker 3, and so this is a little 3-inch ripper. But what's amazing about this one is that it's DJI 04, yeah, it's under 250 grams. This little thing has GPS on the front of it, so it has GPS return to home, Betaflight. You can even put GPS positioning on here as well. So Betaflight now has GPS positioning, and it will do altitude hold and position hold, which is pretty stinking killer for Betaflight. I have not tried that out yet. I don't know if you guys have tried that out. Let me know in the chat if you tried that out. But also, it came uh, kind of with quite a few extras in here. I got some 3-inch props. I got some Deep Space stickers, and they were using some HQ props that were the T3 props. These are from a while ago, and you can see that the center cord of this prop is pretty thick. And I figured, when I put these on and I fly it, and I flew these for my maiden, I was skeptical about how it was going to fly. I have flown similar props in the past, but I used a much thinner cord, T3 prop, and this one, it did just fine, which was kind of amazing. It had really nice punch to it, and I think what they were doing is, in combination with this 1505 motor that they have on here, that really works well together. So this little wider cord, um, great low end power on this motor, and so it has a ton of lift when you want it on the throttle. So it doesn't feel like a 3-inch that's going to bottom out on you. So this was a really, really nice release this month. I've already had requests from some people online, like asking if they could buy this one from me. And when I get a brand new quad, you have to understand, I'm when I like it, I wanna sell it for the I don't wanna sell it price. I've talked about that before. It's gonna be more expensive if I like it and I wanna keep it and fly it, for some time soon. So, also, guys who are just getting into the room, welcome to the live stream. And we also want you to be aware of, I'm sure you are at this point, because we did release two format versions of this Catalyst Machine Works giveaway. I mean, can I get some likes in the room for giving away a 5-inch, $500 FPV racing quad? This is a Stretch X Catalyst Machine Works 6S quad with an analog setup on here. It has a run cam on the front, run cam micro. It does have XT60 in the back with a giant capacitor. Beautiful Catalyst Machine Works 2205 6S motors and some brand new super slappy props on here. This one will race or freestyle like you've never seen before. And it also has TBS crossfire receiver all ready to go, all ready for you to bind up. Um, and quite a powerful VTX on there as well for 5.8 gigahertz if you have those types of goggles. So we're not out of the woods yet, just yet, with what's happening in Washington. And there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes to be able to make this hobby work and keep going currently. And a lot of it has to do with the companies that you probably already buy from. So everyone's kind of gearing up with their NDAA type stuff. And I think if we were at a space where we didn't have the type of new releases that we used to have, we would have to get used to sort of the new norm, and maybe even just fall back on a little bit of 3D printing for brand new releases in 3D printing. But I doubt it's ever going to get that bad. I don't think it's going to get that bad. So um, I wouldn't worry too much about that. We won't go back to the Stone Age of having to fly homemade stick made frames. We've already been there and done that, and we're not going back. John says 55% tariff, 10% for U.S. goods going into China. That's what I thought I heard. That's what I thought I heard, John. Yeah, so on my last live stream, we were doing what I call drone steading. We were kind of homesteading, working on some projects in the backyard, and talking about drones, working on the chicken projects. And I was talking a little bit about prepper type stuff and how, a lot of these preppers, they train with their rifles, they learn how to can food, they grow vegetables, they collect rainwater, they do all this stuff to prep for the end of the world. But one of the things that a lot of these preppers don't do is like stockpile FPV parts. An FPV, a good collection of FPV drones. If there was an end of the world case scenario happening, I'd much rather have one of these on hand than something like a DJI drone. Um, like for like a Mavic, for example. Um, Much more use for me personally with a DJI FPV drone versus something like a Mavic. The Mavic has great range and all that, but the FPV drone in that scenario is going to be much more useful for you. It's going to be like your backup to your rifle, in a sense. So all those preppers out there, if you're listening, learn how to fly FPV. It may be, yeah, recon is paramount, but also defense of your own assets as well. So and your person. But yeah, that's drone steading for you. So drone steading, and that falls into what we were talking about last week too, with the unavailability of parts. I told you guys to like start buying stuff that you think you might need. Buy it now in case something comes down the pipe where, hey, we're not going to be able to get those parts as freely as we were before. And since these new executive orders have gone through, even though we have this new deal that came through with Trump and President Xi. We it's going to be harder to get those parts now because of the federal assessment that's going to be required for um, each of these companies. So each of these companies is going to have to go through this approval process to declare that they're not being used for wartime purposes, and that it is a true hobby company. So companies like Beta FPV, I don't see them having any problem getting their imports into the United States. Like, this is obviously not used for wartime. This this is a tiny whoop, a trainer, a toy, and something you can fly with your kids. You're not strapping RPGs to these. Yeah, not a threat to national security. The whoops. Yeah, 55% is 55% is a major hit, Tommy. You're right. 55% is a pretty big hit. 55% is better than 150%, but man, it's really not helping the average Joe on the street, because we're in a situation where everything is already more expensive. Like, all the money that you make. So if you made $60,000, or you made say you made $100,000, if things are 50% more expensive, what are you actually making after taxes? Okay, you're not making shit. So you got to work double, triple time, right, to be able to offset. You know, and President Trump did say, buy less. Buy less stuffed animals. Maybe drive less cars. I don't know. Buy less FPV drones, possibly. Now, one other thing too, we did some updates on dronecamps.com. If you go to our webpage, and you will see at the top of the page that there are all these FPV brands, discount prices in our Drone Camp store. If you refresh this page, you'll see these new graphics on here. We did some updates on pretty slick. We do have the new hats and t-shirts. You should definitely grab yourself a hat or a t-shirt to support the channel. You will see and the cause of this channel. And we also put up the FPV summer sale. We have the Happy Mo prices model Mobula 6 Eco HD0 whoop in there. Surprised that these new graphics on that one hasn't sold yet. Pretty soon. And recently we added the brand new high singing Firefly Smart Drone bundle. A hat or a t-shirt. That one includes everything and basically everything in one box, including the FPV camera that comes along with the Firefly, the Happy Mo prices, and the goggles. These are actually pretty nice goggles. For $145, that bundle can be shipped to you. And the cool thing about that is that these goggles can be used for other 5.8 analog FPV drones. So if you have other drones, or you just want a secondary pair of goggles or a setup for your kid, or if you're brand new to FPV and just getting started, that's not a bad investment to get into FPV. And that was just added on the site. And there's one available of that one, like a lot of our stuff. So I don't have stockpiles of drones in inventory. And a lot of times when you get a good deal on there, it's usually a one-off deal. And we still have the sub 250 Nimble 6.5 ready to fly combo as well on there. And that's another really great little combo there. And I'm including some extra frame kits with that one as well, extra canopies, and actually one extra frame kit get a good deal along with that. It's usually a one-off deal. And we still have the sub 250 Nimble 6.5 ready to fly. So we probably got some echo there because it was probably playing through. Let me mute that. I'm gonna mute Brave. There we go. So we were talking about the let's go back to the Drone Camps website. At the top of the page, yeah, once I clicked over to that, it just started playing through the browser. Sorry about that. The Drone Camp's website's been updated, so if you scroll down, you'll see discount brands, see all the different brands that we get. The Drone Camp store has now been updated with the new merch and hats. So I was saying to grab one of those hats or a T-shirt and support the channel. And our summer sale's up, and we just added the Firefly Smart Drone Bundle for beginners. This one's $145, and it includes everything you need to fly FPV along with the camera on the drone as well. It's 5.8, so you can use these goggles on any other type of analog drone, which is pretty cool. So $145, that's free shipping from the US again. Like all of our stuff ships from the US, so you don't have to wait. And I'm surprised that this one didn't sell yet. It's the it's actually, that's why it might not have sold, because it's the Happy model Mobile Eco HD0 Whoop. It's one of the funnest ones, but I can see down in the description below we have sub 250 Whoop Fly. So that is not the Whoop Fly. That's actually the the Happy model Mobile Eco. Super awesome little quad. We're gonna have to change that description. Oh, sorry, Mika, you don't have much time today. Getting ready for Father's Day. This is a good chance to grab something for Father's Day. Just take that cash you got laying around somewhere and get yourself a brand new FPV drone off our website. That would not be a bad Father's Day present. We also have on there the Radio Master MT12, which I'm surprised someone didn't grab that, because I know a lot of you guys have crawlers. I have a crawler myself, and right now I have it hooked up to my, I've used it on my Axial Capra, which I freaking love. So at this point, there has definitely been some rumors that DJI has been banned, but DJI has not been banned as of right now. That is all up in the air as far as where we're at with the availability of DJI in the United States. Um, so I wouldn't get too tied up in that. Now, that one combo that I was telling you guys about, the high singy, this is uh, the TX50 controller. And then there's also the Firefly itself here with all the parts and stuff in there. And then I also have one that has no camera on it. So that's the Firefly trainer. And I don't even know if I can talk about it. I don't have any kind of NDAs about it, but there's also a new one coming out. There's a brand new one. Uh, JD, as Law said, is the Chimera 7 Pro V2 a good LR quad? Absolutely. Absolutely. The Chimera 7 V2, I I feel like is one of my favorite all time. And it's a 7.5 inch. There is one on the wall back there. This is the Cine LR7 back there, and then there's the Maz 7 V2 back here. Uh, if 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 price is not an option, if price is not a problem, I would go for the Gep RC Maz 7 V2 back here. This one back here. That's the one. That's the one that I would recommend that you get if you want to fly long range. If you want to freestyle, right now, even between the uh, the Gep RC Vapor, the Vapor D5, and the Mark 5, people keep asking me about which one to get there. I would get this one. I would get the Mark 5. I just feel like it flies great freestyle, but it has a little more efficient motors on this one, so you just get a little bit longer flight time. I We went through this phase in the FPV where we had huge motors. We were running like 20 really, really large motors, and we've sort of gotten away from using super large, high amp draw motors. Because while it gave us a lot of power, it gave us more vibration to the frame. Sometimes harder to tune, but also like it had a really high amp draw, so it would drain the battery a lot faster. So now we have a little lower kV and a little smaller motors on this particular quad, and it's performing quite well. So I'm pretty happy with that, the way that's working out. Mark 5 definitely worth the money if you're going to go 5 inch, and again, like the Mod 7 V2 is freaking great. And one of the reasons I like the Mod 7 V2 versus the Sena LR7 is the front end. I do like that they hid the GPS in the back of the LR7, because when I first got it, I first opened up, I looked at the back and I was like, oh man, they sent me a long range drone without a GPS, but it's actually embedded underneath the TPU. So that was kind of smart. They hid it underneath the TPU, which is not going to interfere with the signal as long as you don't put it under the carbon frame. It still allow you to have a great connection, but gives you tons of protection if you do crash off into the trees, which does often happen in long range FPV drone flying. So let us know where you're tuning in from today. Smash the like button, because the algorithm, right now seems to hate FPV drones like they hate on um, anything to do with the Ukraine or firearms. Yeah, and all of a sudden the FPV drones are kind of like the firearms type channels. They do a lot to suppress our videos nowadays, which is basically uh, maybe it's run by liberals who don't like FPV drones or something. I don't know. As political as political less of a landscape as we want FPV to be and our hobby to be, it's never going to be political free anymore. We're all wrapped up in the middle of this crap, unfortunately. But that's why you want to just sometimes fall back and fly something like this. Just keep it simple. Stay out of the politics with your whoops, because the whoops don't care. It'll be a sad day if they ever banned whoops. They Robert, welcome in from New York. New York might be the first state that would ban whoops, right? Am I right? New York or California, maybe. Sorry, California. It's true. You get they love to ban things in California. So, what do you guys think about the current happenings over in L.A.? Kind of crazy. I saw quite a few drone pilots with FAA Part 107 vests on in the middle of those crowds. So they're flying their drones around and getting some news footage, probably getting paid pretty decent. But I don't know that I want to put myself in the middle of what's going on in LA right now. It's kind of I don't think it's as I don't think it's as quite, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's quite as bad as what was happening back in Minneapolis during the George Floyd riots. But this subject too, with um, ICE and the deportations and things like that. This subject, I don't know if this subject could get bigger than what was happening with George Floyd protests, uh, but it could, because it's it's sort of a nationwide type of thing, as was the George Floyd thing. Yeah, Jeffrey said, "Stupid is what it is." Yeah, I was trying to figure it out, like, um, watching the last couple days on the news. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, like, all of this, like, and again, like, we can't really explain that, because a lot of it gets popped off by people who are, Trump may be right. It's people that are paid to go in there, anarchists, and start a bunch of crap in the town and get everybody all riled up, um, start burning cars and things like that, and breaking into Apple stores, and um, that's just not helping the situation, and it's emboldening, uh, even sending in the Marines, or having to send in the National Guard. When people start burning stuff and tearing down storefronts and things like that, that's when they have to send in the National Guard. But we've never seen a situation, at least in my lifetime, where they send in the U.S. military to keep the peace. So that's it's kind of scary and wild at the same time that they can send in the military. So a lot of people are sort of sideways about that. But at the same time, it you have to keep the city safe, right? You have to keep you have to keep the city safe. There should be Robert says crap in LA is stupid. It should be in and out. There should be some zero tolerance for that crap. Yeah. Yeah, and I think they're going pretty hard against people this time that are causing problems on the street. They're not backing down very much at all. They're hitting people pretty hard. I saw one reporter get smacked in the forehead with a rubber bullet. He has a huge red mark in the center of his forehead. That would suck. That would be a. I can imagine getting hit in the head with a rubber bullet. That must be like getting hit in the head with a baseball. Like that bright white light, and then a tremendous amount of fire and pain in your forehead. And he was there just to report this shit. So he was just there, doing what he's paid to do. But that may be the chances that you take if you are in the media. So I like to do my live streams in the safety of my studio, where I don't have crazy people running around me with Molotov cocktails and freaking shooting rubber bullets and tear gas and all kinds of crap that's happening out there. Me personally, I would never go down and get in the middle of that crap. I just value my own safety. If there's tons of other ways to protest, and some people that's their jam. They go down and they voice their opinion. I respect that, but me personally, I'm not getting in the middle of it. No. If I want to protest, I have a YouTube channel, and I can reach way more people on this YouTube channel than I can holding a sign, walking around with a sign. But it is your right. It's your right to protest. Just don't break shit. You know. Jeffrey said the last time they were deployed was 1992. Okay, to the Rodney King riots. So I didn't realize that. Did they deployed the military? I mean, LA is kind of a different animal, right? LA is a different animal. It's just because it's like a small country. There's so many people. It's probably bigger than a lot of countries, smaller countries out there, right? It probably has more people in LA than Rhode Island, like the state of Rhode Island. It's a lot of people in LA. But it would be interesting. I was thinking about that and watching that this week, and I was thinking, man, that would be cool to fly down like one of the main streets while all that crap was going on. I mean, it would almost be like post-apocalyptic FPV, right? Robert says, yeah, that sucks. It could have been a real bullet. Yeah, Robert, it probably, yeah, it wouldn't be a real bullet because they're not shooting real bullets. I mean, I guess they could if somebody started, popping off shots. I think they're probably prepared for that. But yeah, I guess in a way it could have been a real bullet, but not if they're just trying to clear the street. I've never seen them start mowing folks down because they were trying to clear the street. But yeah, I don't recommend burning an American flag. Robert says, you burn your country flag while waving another. It's an act of war. Uh, and if you're American, it's treason. Robert said that the rioters are shooting at the cops. Wow. I did not know that. I did see quite a few police with the helmets on that only come down to here, so basically your neck is exposed. with the shield, the face shield. So you got to keep your head down quite a bit to protect your neck. Um, that doesn't seem like enough cover up for me. If I was out there as a part of the police department, I want some serious, like serious freaking riot headgear. Because some of the stuff that the cops were wearing in LA sort of looked like almost like 1990s helmets. They didn't look like the newer ones. They looked a little older. Um, but yeah, I thought it would be cool to have been able to be part of the drone squad there in LA and been able to fly some of that because they're getting some pretty epic footage this week. Not that that's good for anybody or anything like that. It's uh, just a wild time to be a drone pilot in LA. Because there's probably you guys might be able to find some of the videos out there, but I'm sure there's already some pretty epic drone footage videos being uploaded this week. And so one of the things that you guys might not have heard about in drone news this week is a day after the executive orders. The executive orders came out on June 6th. Today is the 11th. And on the 7th, on June 7th, we had an article come out about DJI defending its drones. And you got to give it to DJI. They've been really trying to stand up for themselves, make their voice known, and kind of be in the public eye since a lot of this started to go down. I mean, even years ago, they made a lot of statements on their website. They do have a section on their website you can go to and see their latest press releases. And so this article right here from Drone DJ is talking about the key highlights of the executive orders. We already went through a lot of this, so some of you guys might be just kind of seeing this to hear it for the first time if you're just kind of new to this. But number one, a federal establishment of a federal task force to restore American airspace sovereignty. So there is where they're going to have uh, more toys. They're going to get the police department will get more toys uh, to handle airspace regulation, identification, and figure out if this is a threat drone or it's just someone from the public that's flying their brand new drone and filming. The big problem with a lot of drones out there right now is that we just need to know, whether that is a threat or not, and quickly be able to assess that. And it's it's pretty apparent a lot of times for the police when you have a drone that's up and it's just literally flying in a no-fly zone or it's heading toward the edge of a military base. If you're flying a drone and you're heading toward the edge of a military base property and you cross that threshold, it's like we were joking about the other day when I used to kiteboard across from Mayport Naval Station down in Jacksonville, Florida. And we were saying, like, right after 2001, we joked about kiteboarding across the bay there toward the destroyer and see how far you'd make it across the bay with the white sheet on. Because kiteboarding was pretty new back then too, so it was like I know the guys were probably standing on the ship, was like watching us riding these kites across the water, probably wondering what the hell we were doing. Um, we were obviously recreating. We weren't a threat to the Navy base or anything like that, but um, we did have some jokes. Somebody said we would be pink mist if we went across that bay too close to the naval base. So some of the other key takeaways from the executive orders the other day was the enhanced airspace regulation. So the FAA has been called up for sort of heavier duty than what they have previously been required to do by the federal government. And at this point, it will be hard for the FAA to kind of, let's just be honest. It'll be hard for them to be able to stand up to the new requirements that they're going to be. The rulemaking process, they're going to have a hard time enforcing them because they have less manpower now. A lot of the people in the FAA are not there anymore during the new administration. So that's one of the things that you're going to have to deal with. They are going to probably start implementing some more AI type stuff in drone detection and threat assessment. Number three, the promotion of domestic drone manufacturing. This was a big one, which I thought is great. We do need stimulus in the FPV hobby big time. We need more companies. We need a Run Cam. We need a Foxeer. We need a Gap RC. We need an iFlight RC. We need these hobby drone companies here. We need some of these hobby drone companies here in the U.S. We need like kind of how there's like Smith and Wesson, there's a Remington, and so on. For firearm companies, we need to have like a good solid foundation of FPV hobby companies here in the US. And then you guys would have more choices. Like if we had some solid, like, but not like crazy overpriced. Like some of the stuff I've seen recently on LinkedIn, I've seen a company starting up, and I think they're out the door price for like I think it was a 7 inch was about $1,500 without a battery, bind and fly, without goggles, $1,500. So um, that's about twice the price that you guys are used to paying, right? So manufacturing, domestic drone manufacturing is super important for uh, helping the hobby survive. So I love that is part of this executive order. I think that's great. They want less dependency on foreign-made drones. This is the whole thing here, and it would strengthen the domestic drone industry and secure supply chains. And then that has more to do with military operation there. Sauna says that Unusual Machines just opened a motor factory in Orlando. That's freaking fantastic. They will be serving hobbyists. I'm heavy into their stock, and it just pumped a bunch this week. Yeah, it did. It went up a lot this week because of the executive orders and the focus on domestic FPV drone manufacturing. So also, Eric Trump is on the board, I believe, as well. So um, yeah, that's not financial advice though for me. Not allowed to give that to you on YouTube. Number four is advancement of BVLOS, Beyond Visual Line of Sight Operations. That is also, you know, that to me is fantastic because that's what we do. We do FPV, and that's what Beyond Visual Line of Sight technically is. Or if you're using your DJI drone, looking at your screen, you fly out of your visual line of sight as an operator. It would be nice to be able to get those exemptions quicker for companies that want to do some serious drone deliveries and medical deliveries. Super important things for infrastructure and industry. Whether it's a construction company trying to um, get things back and forth from one site to another, things like that. There's just thousands of uses for beyond line of sight type of operations. So the final rule is expected within 240 days. Uh, so it's going to expand the BVLOS operations, which is freaking great in all the sectors. And I know Walmart and Wing and Amazon are pretty happy about that. Number five was integration of AI in regulatory processes. Remember that I mentioned AI before for the FAA, and part of that is, I mean, they're using AI for everything right now, and you guys know that that's kind of what's happening. But apparently, and this is good timing for AI to come into this too, because if we're actually down for the number of FAA employees, to have AI step in here and help, then that and speed up that process, expedite that process for your requests, that's freaking great. That's really, really good news because I know some of you guys have been waiting for waivers for 6 months to a year, depending on which type of waiver you're trying to get. Um, that's really, really good news. Now, let's jump into let's walk away from some of the political news and the executive orders that are happening, and let's head into what's currently available as far as new releases in the FPV drone market right now. I mentioned the Gep RC Mark V. If you had any extra cash laying around, that's the 5-inch that I would buy right now. You can get in on our free Catalyst Machine Works 5-inch quad, freestyle or racing quad that I have here as well, and that's analog, so that's going to be great for someone coming up. We're going to give this away on July 24th in a live stream. So don't give any money to anybody saying that you won in the comments, because I will never go on the video and comment that you won. Never ever. So some of the new releases this month, we have a cool release coming up from iFlight, iFlight RC, and I saw this a while back, and I'm hoping that they'll send us a copy of these. Um, they have gone public that they're going to release a new set of goggles, and I saw another reviewer a while back come out with kind of an overview video of this new pair of goggles. They are $479, so they're not the cheapest goggles out there on the market. That's not going to help people who are on a budget or can't buy a pair of $479 goggles. But these are the SkyViz goggles. They look kind of wild, and that futuristic sort of matrix look to them. They got the LEDs in the front, two antennas very similar to DJI type directional antennas. Fly beyond vision right there. That's cool. Scroll down. And what's special about these versus just a pair of Orcas or Sky Zones? They're the first mecha style. So they're calling this mecha style. Sort of like mechanical, highly integrated FPV goggles with a built-in fusion receiver. Okay, foldable antenna design. Seen it before. Compact and ergonomic layout, and it supports third-party HD video receivers. So that is new. Okay, so that's what makes the SkyViz goggles great. Um, you could take an HD Zero or an Avatar HD module and slap in here, or possibly using OpenIPC. Maybe OpenIPC would be really great if you could integrate something as cheap as OpenIPC into these goggles. Then, your goggles are more expensive than your video system, but you'd be able to put that on all your drones. And I'm not sure how far along like people are with wanting to fly OpenIPC, because I know there's still a lot of testing and development out there. If you're one of these people that wants to like just kind of get into FPV and experiment, OpenIPC is great for that. If you'd like to tinker, and most of us are tinkers. Some of you guys, will fly out of the box type stuff. I get that too. So also on this site, we're seeing some other specs on here. 100 hertz micro OLED displays. That's really good, actually. Way better than 60. Um, that means you have a lot less fatigue on your eyes when you're using them. Sometimes when you're using goggles, you get quite a headache from using the goggles because of the low refresh rate. And so that's really nice. It has a higher really nice refresh rate. And 7-element aspherical lenses, stutter free, and zero screen door effect. And the diopter adjustment on these is -7D to 2+D. So that means if you have glasses, you should be good there. and IPD from 56 to 72 millimeter. You know, a lot of modern goggles too, like they have a huge focal range. So even friends of mine who have glasses are able to wear some of the newer ones, like the O4Xs. The Sky Zone O4Xs have a really, really broad range for being able to be able to see. And I'm a little bit, I'm a nearsighted, so. But I think these goggles look great. I do think they're still on the expensive side of things. If these were, if the SkyViz analog goggles came in, let's say $300 price point, I think that would be pretty great. Resolution is 1920 by 1080. I love the refresh rate, 100 hertz there, max. Interpupillary distance, 56 to 72 millimeter, and negative 7D to positive 2D diopter range. That's really great. And 44 degrees field of view. And this is cool for a lot of people because FPV racers like to fly in 4.3. And a lot of my FPV freestyle friends like to fly in 16 by 9. So two different aspect ratios, depending on also what kind of camera you're flying. Some cameras don't have 4.3. So you won't have any stretching going on if you have a certain type of camera, 4.3 or 16 by 9. That's really nice. It does say built-in receiver. So up at the options, I don't see that there's any way to order it with the receiver or without it. But apparently it does come with a built-in, probably analog receiver. And what I'm interested in is the power range, the power input range, and it says 2 to 6S. So that's awesome. So that means that you could use any type of power cable coming off the goggles and put like an XT60 on the end. You could run a 2 to 6S battery. That's really great. So we do have some more releases coming up on the channel. I am going to do a DJI alternative, uh, little micro subcompact, sub 250 gram drone 4K review coming up. It has a 32-minute flight time on this one. It's the Atom 2. Really nice little micro. What I call a tourist drone. So you can travel with that one. You can. A lot of people ask me what can you take through customs. What I would take through customs is not really like something like this, and definitely not something like one of these big, Ukraine size bomb droppers. I would take something that looks more like a tourist drone. If you're taking a trip to Italy with your girlfriend and your wife, you just want to get those cool aerial shots while you're there. Um, and if you want to take an FPV drone, I would take something like maybe like a Cinewoop, maybe something a little smaller. Like probably the perfect, if you wanted to take an FPV drone overseas, probably one of the perfect ones you could take would be the Beta FPV Pavo 20 Pro with the DJI 04 Pro on there, because that video on that drone looks amazing, and the 04 video looks as good as some of the 3-axis gimbal videos that I've seen. I may be biased though, because I do like FPV video more than I like the straight ahead boring drone shot. Um, but for me, when Mrs. Camps and I went to Italy last year, last fall, we went and I took the Mini 3. And one of the reasons that I took the Mini 3 was because that one is a good price. It's bright orange. It's tiny, sub 250, and it gets 4K at 60 frames per second. So I thought the video on that looked really nice. Now, the bit rate on the Potensic Atom 2 is 100 megabit. So that's really good. And I did some spec comparison. Now what's pretty cool is if you're ever thinking about uh, one drone versus another one. I'm a great person, pilot with 11 years of experience to ask these technical questions to. And also, you can ask AI. So recently, I did a spec comparison between these two drones, DJI 4K. It's a $450 Flymore combo, same exact price as the Flymore combo for the Atom 2. And the Atom 2 is essentially for people who do not want to fly DJI. and there's guys out there that are like that. So they're just giving you an alternative. And if DJI is banned and Potensic is not, then and I'd say the app on there is as good as the DJI app. Now, when I put both of these drones up head to head with in the AI prompt, and I asked it which one, compare all the specs for me, and then tell me which one you think is the better buy for the money. And at the end of the specs, I might have this on screen still. Um, it did say that the Potensic Atom 2 was the better buy. And one of the reasons for that is the Atom 2 has AI night vision correction. So it does better low level light shooting, which is pretty epic. Like AI night vision is all of a sudden now it's a thing. So that's really cool for cameras because it has pixel restoration. So it's going to fill in some of the pixels that originally the camera would have missed, or you have that weird blocking effect that happens. Now AI is going to be able to fill in those weird blocking effects on the low light side of things. So that's a really cool technology that's coming up for um, a lot of these 3-axis gimbal type filming drones. Dominic says Flylens 85 Soup Customs. I think the Flylens 85 would fly right through just about any customs around the world, or even, again, our little friend, the non-nefarious Tiny Whoop. So yeah, anything small. If you wanted to travel overseas and you had to take an FPV drone with you, um, if you're traveling in a big group of guys, or hopefully not military age guys, but if you're traveling in a big group of guys and you're traveling with Rotor Riot or somebody and you took a 5-inch, you probably wouldn't be flagged because you're a pretty known entity. But if you're traveling solo, I always just recommend like travel with something smaller. I would never want to lug around my 7-inch through the streets of Paris or up and down the cobblestone stairs of Italy. That would not be good. And plus, I wouldn't want it to get stolen. That's probably the biggest thing. Dwight Van says that Mod 7 build you did with Crossfire, what receiver and goggles do you use with it? I have never had a drone, but I'm looking at the Moz, and I guess you prefer Crossfire over ELRS. Okay. Um, so Dwight, at this point, ELRS is catching up. Now, if I was to go out right now and fly up one of these Oregon mountainsides, and I usually don't go that far, and I definitely don't go behind something. Like if you fly over a mountain range, like this is a little mountain range. If you fly over a mountain range and go behind it, you're begging for a fail safe, right? Because if your radio's over here and it can't penetrate through the rock face, because GPS can't penetrate rock either. So that frequency doesn't impede rock. Um, and since it doesn't pass through rock, it bounces off, right? And so if you've ever driven a car through somewhere like Moab and you have those arch rocks that you drive under, you'll notice that when you drive into these really tight canyons that your GPS, like your Sirius radio, will go out. All of a sudden, no connection. Or sometimes your cell phone goes out a lot of times when you dip down into mountainous regions because just that's just triangulation. But I right now feel like that Crossfire may be more reliable, and I think it's just because of my history of flying TBS Crossfire. So as I'm flying around a mountain, a lot of times I'm going to go up and back down to the bottom and come back up again to the top. I'm never going past the top of the apex of the mountain and back behind it, right? Back where the flat is, and just running all back here away from if I'm flying from the bottom. And I feel like if you're doing that, you should keep the drone back over this side of the mountain so you have that. You always, even if you're flying long range, you want that long line of sight connection from your radio over here to your receiver on your quad. Um, so at this point, I've tested TBS Crossfire more, but I'm literally standing on the fence right now as to which one I prefer. I just have less experience sending ELRS up the mountain. Recently, I did uh, a little bit of mountain, just kind of, but right in front of myself. It was still within line of sight. Um, but I did get up in an area in those trees where I was kind of passing around some trees, and we have huge evergreens in Oregon. So I was passing around some of these trees, and I was looking for my exit line back down the mountain from the apex. And sometimes with older receivers, if you flew between trees, sometimes you would momentarily fail safe. So if you had usually have to have GPS on your drone if you're flying at long range, and it has to be field tested and make sure that it works. But sometimes you would fail safe, and it would go into GPS rescue, which was awesome because what happens is when you're in acro, and if your GPS is set up correctly, when you're flying straight, you're having the greatest time of your life. You're flying down that beautiful canyon river, and you turn a corner, and there's a big ass tree there, and signal on on screen display goes to 0, -45, and you see in you don't lose your FPV view, but you lost your control signal. So all of a sudden your drone does this, and it's in GPS rescue. And then as soon as you were into that, almost momentary, moments, milliseconds later, it goes back to acro. So it'll save you and start to rise up and come back to that return to home height that you specified, um, which is so paramount for flying long range. I had friends of mine in the past fly FPV wings with no flight controller, no GPS, no return to home, and some of these guys are 3.5 miles out, just blasting. Um, don't even have telemetry on their battery. They've got a goggles feed, but they have no freaking telemetry on their battery. It's crazy. Uh, and then every once in a while, that would they would have a crash. It's pretty major crashes off into the woods, and yeah, hike in and go get your stuff, which I'm not a fan of. But I can't be, me personally, I can't be going out and flying like 10, 15 miles away and um, pushing the limits of flying long range in 2025. When we first got started years ago, we were experimenting with a lot of stuff, and I learned a whole bunch about signal um, by practicing some range flying. So it was a learning experience, and one of the biggest things I learned that was that 1.3 does great, 2.4 does great, and it depends on what type of area you're flying long range. If you're flying long range, say out in like more urban areas, there are better systems to use for urban areas versus out in rural areas, because some of the FPV systems are more susceptible to Wi-Fi interference. And no one I know that flies long range flies 5.8 long range. Just don't do it. I mean, I say that, and I'm staring at an AKK transmitter sitting over there, just over there, um, that has more power than anything I've ever seen. So it's like, um, they do make long range 5.8 now, and uh, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of long range 5.8. I would rather do 1.3 down to a 5.8 relay, which would be probably more reliable, in my opinion. So, what are you guys flying this week? Are you looking to buy anything else? We should jump into. Let me jump into right now. What is current in June 2025? Um, some of the some of the drone releases that we have reviewed here on the channel. If you look at Banggood, Banggood is a great source for showing us what's new, because they are one of the largest uh, distributors of FPV bind and flies in China. Um, we need an equivalent again. We need an equivalent of Banggood in the U.S. that just have like massive stockpiles of some FPV drones, but not 3 times the price. So one of the things here that I saw recently is a brand new HGLRC quad that looks like it may be coming out, which I hope we get to review. It's the Win 5 Lite V2. Um, and this one looks extremely similar to the Win 5 Lite that I reviewed years ago on the channel. They have this sort of, if you notice right in the middle of this quad right here, there's like it looks like a battery strap around the whole quad. Right here, you guys see that? That's actually a felt strap that goes all the way around. I don't know how I feel about that. It's supposed to be like a dust guard, but I don't know if that could cause static or build up static next to that flight controller and ESC. I'm not sure um, if that. I haven't seen that last as a trend. I haven't seen other companies jump on board with that. Jason Leb said he's flying a Banggood 3-inch that you got off eBay. Nice. I remember those. We were talking about the other day, a good friend of mine from the drone industry years ago, Trent Sigurd. Sigurd, hopefully I'm saying that right. Trent used to work for Unique and still currently works for a drone company in the U.S. Very smart guy. And we somehow we started talking about the Zool. The Zool was one of the first reliable, strong FPV drone frames that didn't break every time you crash it. And I think I was flying Cobra motors on that particular drone back in those days. And I remember I had a sticker on the front of it that said "Will bite." I don't know where I got that sticker from, but it was perfect for that quad, because that quad had big ass Cobra motors on there. Like, I swear they were like this tall, swinging 5-inch props. So that was some of the first times that we were moving into. We went from originally we started out flying FPV. Most multi rotors were flying on a 3S battery. And from the ZMR 250s, we moved up to these new frames, GEP RC, iFlight, and the Zool frames. And those were running 4S. So the first time ever we were running 4S, I remember thinking, holy crap, this is amazing power. I felt like I never quite had enough like oomph on 3S. Another quad in here was the Defender 25, which we reviewed that one. Might have been the Defender 20. And also the GEP RC Vapor D5, another epic drone. I feel like it's a little less efficient than the Mark V. And they do make 2 versions of the Mark V here. They have the X version, if you want the true X version. You might see a little bit of props in view with that one, but you can still get that one in the analog, I believe the analog version. They have an analog version of the Vapor. And then the Dead Cat version. So if you ever see DC in the name of the quad, that just means Dead Cat, uh, or drone camps, whichever you prefer. Now, this is also a new release that's coming up. YMZ FPV. I have not seen anything from YMZ in quite a while, and I do have some insider information about YMZ FPV. Uh, even though we are getting this quad for review coming up, I think it's super cool. There, somebody from YMZ recently uh, left the company, and they they went off and started their own FPV company. So now, I don't know. Maybe the talent or the designer from YMZ FPV decided to just. It's almost like the company Arnay or Arnett, some of you guys might call it. Used to be the designer for Oakley. He left and went and started his own company. So there's a new company coming up. I don't have the name of it currently, but that is supposed to be happening this year as well. So we may have another new company popping up very soon. probably about the same size drones. I think that's a super wise decision to make sub 250 drones right now too, uh, especially with the tariffs, everything being 50% more, and then also tighter customs import um, laws and regulations. So going small is definitely going to be the way to go for some time. So the DJI 04 version, um, my God. So if you so this does say maybe this is the US store. Yeah. Oh, shipped to US. No. So $424. So now correct me if I'm wrong, but 50% of that price would end up being like a $600 04 Pro 2-inch. Ouch. Not even 2-inch, 1.6-inch. Jesus. I don't know if I can stomach that. If I really, really wanted it, I guess I could. And that's without a receiver. Let's see, with a TBS Nano would be 474. My God. Holy crap. It'd be like around $750 by the time you get your ELRS or TBS Nano RX on there. Phew. Let's see what kind of battery this one runs. It looks really cool. Oh, this is going to be a 3S one. So um, the previous versions of these were 2S. So now we're going to be running a 3S battery with 1002 series motors. And that's cool. And I feel like if you're going to run the O 04 Pro on a quad, you need to be at least running 2S, especially with the Pro. But this does not look like a Pro camera right here. This looks like the Micro. So even though they're calling this a Pro, it must be just the light version. And I think, however they were going to send it to us, they were going to send it to us with. This is pretty funny. Someone asked the question on the Banggood website: "Can you install Walksnail?" It said, "No, this product is compatible with O 04 Pro," but they don't show the O 04 Pro in the picture. They show the light. That's the light, people. That's not the Pro. The quad is called a Pro. It's called HDR 04 Pro, but it's actually the light in this picture. So I don't know. I think Banggood screwed up the. They've done that in the past. They've messed up the description of a quad. So what are you actually buying there? Is it the O 04 or is it not? They did say in the comments down below that it is. So maybe the person who wrote up the product is confused. I don't know. Um, maybe they don't know what the Pro camera looks like, but that's not it. We also have Beta FPV Air 6.5. I would love to see a light version, some more light versions of Beta FPV quads coming up. There is the Deep Space Seeker, which we reviewed. There's the analog version for $168. So that would be pretty good on if you're on a budget and you're still flying analog. Nothing wrong with a 3-inch analog drone. Let us know where you're tuning in from today, guys. So other than that, some of the other new releases that we've been seeing come up is I have not seen anything from Axis Flying, and like I feel like it's been like 2 years. I don't know what happened with Axis Flying. Um, I think they got mad at me a while back when I was building up their Avata frame, and I helped them design it, right? And we designed this frame, and their designers technically did it. I just gave them some pointers on like what it should look like, and making a sort of a proper Cinewhoop out of an Avata, the original Avata. Um, but one of the problems was when I did the motor upgrade, uh, something happened to my ESCs. I was getting ESC malfunction errors. So I was terrified to make the transition from my Avata 1 to their frame kit. I was terrified to take the parts off that and screw it up even further. Um, but they haven't sent us anything since then for some reason. Sometimes these companies get mad at you if you um, don't do what they want you to do, I guess. But this is the Cinna on 35V3 with 04. And I believe I reviewed a Cinna on a while back, some of the original ones. We also reviewed the Oasis Fly a while back. That was awesome. Speedy Master 3X. I have not seen that one. I'd love to fly that one. And another company that's been kind of weird in the shadows lately too is Flywoo. We haven't seen anything from Flywoo in quite a long time. But I did really, really like this Explorer LR. Looks like a light version of the LR with this 04 Pro camera on there. Come on, Flywoo, send us one of these. Like this would be the tits right here. Um, Seriously. So TBS Crossfire version that looks like an analog. There's no way you can get the so that would probably be bring your own 04 on that one for 175. Looks like a new user bonus if you haven't bought anything from Banggood before. I should be giving you guys my affiliate links. Support the channel. But yeah, I thought that one looked really cool. And for some reason, again, Flywheel must be mad at us, but Darwin FPV Cine Ape 20. This one also looked pretty cool. That was come out the last couple months. And also the Deep Space Seeker 5 DC XL 5-inch version. I really wanted to review this one, but for some reason we got skipped on the Seeker 5. And they ended up sending us the 3. And if the 5 flies as beautifully as the 3 does, I will be in love with the 5 because I think this frame looks really cool. I like this white mat they have sitting up here. And I love that this is a 2-piece design. So I do like to be able to remove the top plate quicker, less bolts here. So that just minimizes the amount of bolts you have to take the top plate off. So 6-bolt top plate release is awesome. Looks like they have 2 3D printed side skirts on, and they do have some looks like M2 hardware right here for keeping that in place, and a snap in the back. And sometimes I would prefer just 2 snaps versus having to get a driver every time I want to get to the flight controller, because sometimes I'm in a hurry. We got a GoPro. It looks like some type of maybe CPU cover there with GPS underneath it. There's a little GPS icon right in the front, so it does have GPS riding up front, and an optional GoPro carrier right there. And I like that little embellishment on the side, little DS logo right there. I had joked that maybe this company was Diatone reborn because the quality seems pretty similar to what we were seeing with Diatone. And Diatone was one of the only companies that had titanium hardware at the time. So it was like some of the best hardware with extra beveling on top of some of the bolts, and it was great for a really nice driver. And none of their hardware ever stripped on me, which is saying a lot for Chinese hardware. Sometimes I don't want to name names, but some of the hardware out there really sucks. You go to take a bolt off with your driver and it strips, right? It strips on top. And so the only way to get that out is just go grab a pair of snips sometimes and try to grab the top of it and turn it a little bit, just enough to be able to torque it out. And depending on where the bolt is on the quad, if it's recessed, it'd be a real pain in the ass to remove. But this hardware on the Seeker 3, again, like it has a really tall, I swear it's like the same. It does have that extra bevel on top. So I don't know if you guys can see this in this camera. This is a pretty good camera I'm using, but look at that extra white bevel on the outer rim of that bolt. So it does look very similar to some of Diatone's hardware. And I'm not really trying to prove that this company's is Diatone. I could care less, but I just think it's great to see that type of quality come back around. and the carbon fiber quality is really nice too. It's not, you know, sketchy looking carbon fiber. It's nice polish to it. We got our XT30 mounted vertically in the back. No tilt toward the back of the drone, which is a really big pet peeve of mine. I hate that because it makes you extend your battery, move your battery back off CG. That's never good on a quad. I don't like to have my battery offset because not everybody's flying an action camera on the front. Um, but like we talked about before with the Gep RC Mark V, um, like the Seeker 5, it has must be a trend. We don't have a lot of trends right now in FPV because there's not a lot of releases. So you have to pay extra close attention to um, manufacturing trends, and this is one of them. Is that two plate thing here? So front plate for camera mount, and then back plate. A lot of times this is a singular plate all the way to the front and back. So one of the current trends is that two plate combo, and that just 6-bolt back top plate release is freaking awesome. Lets you get in a lot quicker. How's it going, Johnny D? Welcome to the stream, brother. We are talking about all the new stuff and all the happenings in FPV and the drone industry and the executive orders and the follow up on that and DJI and uh, the scarceness, the scarcity of FPV drone parts. Also, new federal assessments trying to get your parts in now. Companies are going to have to go through and be on the approval list for imports. So we're still able to get all of our Chinese stuff, but it's all of our gear, but it's gonna be a little harder to get some of that now. So you may have to wait around for some of those companies to make it through. And I mean, depending on like, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but do you feel like a company like Beta FPV should just be let straight through into the U.S. marketplace without having to go through a bunch of those assessments? Or is that even an option for a company that makes so many little tiny ones, little sub 250 toys, essentially? These are little trainer toys to learn how to fly the big thing. You know, so we'll be at Beta FPV and companies like Happy Model, will they be subjected to that? That'd be kind of weird if they had to like go through a FCC approval process and things like that. And I don't know how much more available some of those products would be if they had to go through those types of expenses, right? And I think that's where we were able to get such great deals on Chinese hardware and electronics for the past 25 years. Because I guarantee a lot of the stuff on Timo is not like um, filing any FCC patents or anything like that. Zero copyright. As a matter of fact, it might be a clone of some American product, probably reverse engineered. But you got a deal on it. Yeah, we're in a Johnny D said it's going to be different than what we're used to. The whole landscape's changed right now. Like the entire landscape of purchasing anything has changed. So that $50 lamp's now going to be a $75 lamp, but that's much better than a $150 lamp. Um, that would suck. But it feels good. It feels really good to be able to go and see that we are still having new releases because right now, whether you know it or not, we're in the trenches. So all of you guys on this stream, we're in the FPV trenches of the hobby. We are um, some of the last men standing right now in this hobby. There are not a lot of us left. So as popular, people keep saying it's more popular now than it ever has been. Eh, not exactly. Not exactly. if you go out on the street and you ask someone if they know someone who flies FPV, they probably would tell you no. And my other half, I'm the only person she knows that flies FPV. She- none of her none of her girlfriends fly FPV. They all want to go on ski trips and do stuff like that. They don't want to fly FPV. So there are new releases. So we do have some things to be thankful about. I feel like we're in a better space right now than we were, say, 2 weeks, a week ago. A week ago, I was sitting around having my like George Bush 9/11 moment. I was staring off into the grass in the backyard and thinking like, you know, if you've ever been up against a situation with your business where there was like a county, state, or federal moratorium come up that could like basically, like if you were a jet ski business and all of a sudden they banned the use of jet skis in North Carolina, like you'd be sitting there scratching your head wondering how the hell you were going to pay your electric bill, um coming up after that ordinance passed. And then you would have crowds of people saying, "Oh, well, good riddance, man. Glad those jet skis are banned because they're a nuisance, and I hate those things. They're loud, they're noisy." People say the same things about drones. They do. Um, Jason Levin says he knows one person that flies FPV up in Palo Alto. Palo Alto, yeah. When I was flying helicopters, I only knew one other guy that flew RC helicopters. Who was about a 30-minute drive from me, and we used to kind of drive and meet and fly at this basically like a parking lot with a little field. And he was one of the few guys that I knew at the time that could help me with my T-Rex 700. Because if you make a mistake on a T-Rex 700 build, you got big problems. That's a lot to go wrong on something that size. I mean, something like the size of a coffee table spinning like 3,000 RPM. 6S 5,000 pack. I think I was running the last T Rex that I had was running two 5,000 packs. So I was running, um, yeah, 10,000 milliamp at two 6S in parallel. It was a big ass. It was like the whole length of the bottom of the fuselage of the heli. It was like, yeah, there was about this long, and you would strap them both to a battery tray, and they would slide into the heli. Um, we experimented with flying it about half the head speed at about 1,200 RPM, and the characteristic of the heli changed a lot. It would almost feel like it was so much less intimidating than turning like 2,500 to 3,000 RPM on 3.5 feet of blades. Uh, I used to kind of stand behind my car a little bit, like back behind the edge of my SUV, and fly my heli just in case I had to take a leaping dive away from it. Because flying, we were flying full manual mode back then, and no stabilization. You didn't have bailout switch like you do now, and a lot of times these new helis, like the one sitting back there, this is a 450 class heli. It's the Huey V2 from Flywing, and this one starts in it doesn't even have manual mode on it, programmed into the transmitter, so it starts up in stability mode. So that's more of a scale heli anyway. What's up, Guy? Welcome to the live stream. Props out to Texas. We got our Texas posse on the stream today. Yep. Peter FPV Mode says, just like with ham radios, push technology forward. The same FPV pilots advance drone tech. Absolutely, 100%. And all of us for the last, like, if like Johnny D and me have been around for since the beginning of this FPV thing, and I mean, a lot of us are like beta testers. Like, a lot of this stuff wasn't even developed properly yet, and we both, even including myself, we both paid for a lot of things. Like, I paid for a lot of goggles and stuff like that because they weren't sending me goggles for free because they were so expensive. So, I mean, even with my current goggles, like the goggles 3, I bought those. I think the only pair of nice goggles I have is Skyzone 04X. I did get those. That was really a nice thing for Skyzone. Skyzone's been very good to our channel ever since I said that I prefer Skyzone over Fat Shark. Um, and if you noticed, they sort of they became more popular for a while than Fat Shark. And Skyzone, to my knowledge, is still out there selling goggles. I don't know. I may be wrong. Is Fat Shark still out there for sale? I know, like, the box goggles are pretty popular. Um, yeah, you can still get the Dominator O3s. Let's see, the newest version of Fat Shark, and they're actually a pretty good price right now. $300, HDO 3 digital, 1080p. This was a pair of goggles that we never saw and we never got to review. I'm not sad about that, but and this was the one of the patch antennas that I showed you guys the other day. It was that triple feed patch antenna, and Gep RC apparently makes one. This is one of the most awesome. God, I need to have my affiliate links down on this live stream for you guys. But this, it has left hand or right hand circular polarized input on the back. So depending on what type of antennas you're flying on your quad, you can switch it. So maybe they have a picture of the back of it. Um, you can see that there's 2 connection points right here, and one is right hand and one is left hand. So it's super cool that it has this dual modularity right here. So you can see RHCP right there and LHCP on the other side. Not a lot of patch antennas out there have that. They're usually one or the other. But this particular triple feed patch antenna is definitely a design that's been kind of passed around between these companies because Gep RC is not the creator of this particular product. This one's been around for like more than 10 years. They also make some really gigantic versions of this. If you were to fly like ultra long range, they make a really large one that's about 7 to 8 inches across. People mount those on tripods for ground stations. You could take 2 of these and point them in the direction. They're pretty. It's a directional antenna, but you could probably get out 50 miles with the larger version of this. 50 to 100 kilometers easily. But that's going to give you a really good feedback to your goggles. Let's see if they have that large one. Okay, so this one right here, this one is the one I'm talking about. That's like the 150 millimeters. This is the big daddy right here. So you get yourself 2 of these and you mount it on your long range FPV tripod. Hell yeah. These are $11. Just grab 2 of them. Whatever your diversity setup is. So here they have a video, 7-kilometer flight. I mean, this is just the edge of the envelope. This is a 14 dBi Pagoda array FPV antenna. Probably somebody in Russia. Look how big it is. So check out how big this, you can wear this on your face. Look at that. You get 2 of those on your face, you will definitely look like a guy who has no girlfriend. So typically what we see with these two, I don't know why this guy's wearing it on his goggles. Um, but what you want to do with this is you mount it to a tripod. Not Don't put this on your forehead. It's ridiculous. These are 14.4 dBi. They're not meant for FPV goggles, my god. There's the smaller one that I showed you before. That's for goggles. Um, that's for tripods. But they're a good price. I'm seeing more pictures of people with them on their, I mean, you could use it on your goggles if you, I don't know why the hell you would. Because the one that I showed you before a couple days ago that I have, this one's $4, and that one's perfect size for, medium range to proximity flying. That's all you need right there. You don't need that giant one for goggles. Um, Originally based on the Pagoda. This is the original Pagoda right here. This sort of 2-up stack, right hand circular polarized antenna right here. You can also get these in left hand circular polarized. But this is the original Pagoda. They don't even, I haven't even seen any new companies making Pagodas anymore, but they used to be a thing probably about 5, 6 years ago. Guy Actual says, I want to put them on my goggles. You want to look like this guy? No offense, my guy. They also have 9 dB version here. That's probably a little smaller version. I'm pretty sure that the 14 dB version is the big daddy. Um, I've seen people run up to 3 of these at a time, like massive. Um, oh, you wear it for Halloween. You people be looking at you like you were nuts in Texas if you had that on your head walking around. I don't want to be walking with you when you're in Texas wearing that on your forehead. But I would like some Texas barbecue. But hell yeah, that's the one to get right there. And apparently that one was made by, oh, it says for Ishin Sky Zone Fat Shark goggles. Basically for any 5.8 goggles. But 14 dBi, baby. I think one of my most recent smaller patch antennas, they're usually around 7 to 8 dBi. So when you run that little bit larger one that gets you up to 9, that really gets what it does is it gives you less breakup and less little lines in your analog video. People already look at you like you're nuts. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can tell my mood is a little different today in this stream. I feel a little bit lighter, and my personal load is a little lighter today, just because, like, I mean, the past week we really were uncertain where we were going with um, FPV in general, and I'm always concerned about that. I think it's super important that we keep growing the hobby, and you know, very important for the country, and just for having something to get outside your house and go do. Like, gets you out of the house. It's like outdoor PlayStation. I talk about that all the time. And it's cool because you you probably will end up making a friend, right? It's hard not to make friends in FPV. You're gonna meet new people. Some of the best friends that I have now, I met through FPV, and I've known them more than 10 years, and they're still the same dudes. They're still awesome guys. And some of us are just not leaving. Johnny D is one of those guys. He is just not leaving FPV anytime soon, right? We've had a lot of come and goes, but Johnny D is not leaving. I don't know that guy is either. So if you're still watching, smash the like button for us because I am not leaving. You can tell I'm not leaving. 11 years of this, through thick and thin. You guys wouldn't believe some of the shit that I've been through personally and still kept going forward. Johnny D says, I will never stop flying. Good. I won't either. I'd fly balsa airplanes if I had to. I'd figure out a way to put a camera on that. I used to have a one of those larger balsa airplanes, and I put a little FPV camera system on it, and I flew it FPV. It might still be on the channel. I think I made a video about it years ago. I also did a 3D printed FPV rocket. I did an episode on that. That was pretty fun. So I analog FPV a a, a, a freaking ST's motor rocket. Pretty cool. There was an FPV race. I think it was a multi GP race that day, and I sort of coordinated with the guys over at the field so that I didn't turn on my FPV camera at the same time and black anybody out. But after the race was over, we all got on the same channel, and a lot of those guys were watching this rocket blast off, and the camera was pointed down, so you could see like the tail. It looked like MTV, like when the rocket's in slow mo taking off, and, and all this fire coming out the back end of the rocket and the smoke. This FPV, it was freaking awesome. Dwight Van asks if did I ever fly combat planes. I never got into combat flying, but I was this close. There was a field down in Jacksonville, Florida, back in the early 2000s, and they had some guys flying combat down there, and I was about to get into it. Some of those guys wear like helmets and stuff. It's pretty crazy. Pylon racing, right? If that's what you're talking about, as far as combat planes, pylon racers. I think they're AKA combat planes. But they fly over 100 miles an hour, like easily, like super fast. And they race around two poles. So, like, imagine two poles in a giant field, and you just make laps between these two poles, two planes at a time. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Airframe FPV say you're selling motorcycles to stay in drones. Sucks, but drones are safer and more fun. I wanted to get a motorcycle. I was again down in Jacksonville in that area. A friend of mine's wife, she used to ride a really nice bike, and I was crashed out on their couch one morning. I heard this like huge noise going up the side of the house. I'm like, what the hell was that? And my friend was like, oh, she's going to get milk. And I was like, on what? A Hayabusa? He's like, oh no, it's something something 1000 series. And I was like, damn man, that thing sounded deep. I was like, I need to get one of those. I was in a Honda dealership, and a guy in a wheelchair came up to me. I remember I was sitting on a CBR. I think I was like 25, 26. And I was doing a lot of extreme sports at the time, like kite surfing and doing all this stuff, and I was super into it, and I won something fast, and this guy was like, "Nice wheels." It's like, "Thanks, man." And then he's like, "These are my wheels now." Me and my dad got in a crash together, and I didn't walk away from it. But one of my friends said, like, yeah, on a bike, on a street bike, if you fall over, like at a stoplight or something, you just accidentally fall over, or whatever, drop your bike. If you hit the ground, the least that can happen as an injury is probably you're going to break your finger or something. when you fall to try to catch yourself, right? So like I can't be rolling around with broken fingers. Dwight Van says just circle racing. Peter says, I remember flying fixed wing RC in the 80s, wishing for onboard camera. FPV made it reality. Damn right it did. It definitely did. It's pretty awesome. Dave says, I'm flying more than riding my motos for now, for sure. Yeah, I have a lot of electric skateboards, and in a way, an electric skateboard at 30 miles per hour, it's very similar to a motorcycle that you can just fly off of. All of a sudden, like you hit a rock and you just Superman. So it takes all the skin off your hands, and um, I've had like like rash up my entire back. My sweatshirt flew up in a crash on a skateboard. And I broke motorcycle helmet, DOT approved motorcycle helmet on one of the electric skateboards. So I'm definitely a helmet advocate now because of that. Like the electric skateboards are very dangerous. People don't realize. Scooters too. Scooters are a little sketchy. I have an awesome scooter over there, actually for a review coming up that I'm going to play around with. Um, but I will be wearing a nice helmet. All of our kids want scooters right now because the other kids in the neighborhood have scooters, and I'm like, no, no scooters. They're too easy to fly swatter. But it's like they feel safe until they're not, right? With a scooter. Like it feels like this is so easy. Jason said I'd be dead without my lid. Me too, man. Um, if I cracked a motorcycle helmet out the back, and actually there it is, right back here. I couldn't I couldn't throw this away. Um, it's a Fox motocross helmet. Uh, I love this helmet. No, it's an O'Neill. I lied. Um, and I contacted O'Neill too, and I was like, "Hey, I broke your helmet. Do you guys think you would replace it for me? Because I can't use a helmet. I can't use this helmet anymore now that it's cracked." Um, and I went to a motorcycle store to get this fitted and everything, uh, because I just want to order one off Amazon and try to figure out what size I am. But you can see up the back right there, right at the where the back of the head would be, is that crack right there. That's from that crash. You can see there's some separation in there, what that padding is sticking out through that hole. And this is like, it's not padding, it's actually hard, like it's almost like screen or something that bent back through here. But tons of foam padding and neck protection all through here. So I had no concussion, no neck problems. Um, but that was an electric skateboard that did that. But more specifically, homeless people down by the river that put fishing line across the bike path at 11 o'clock at night when I couldn't see it. So it caught me about right here. And I went over backwards. Idle hands. You never know what randos are going to do down by the river. But hell yeah, helmets are awesome. It saved my ass. Dwight Van says, I'm not sure if it's open, but there used to be a place in Williamsport, PA called Crims. I think Crims Toy Store or Crims Remote Control Toys used to have the world record plane in size hanging up. Was it like, I think the biggest RC plane I've ever seen was probably at Joe Knoll, and I think it was half scale. A half scale RC plane is like, I think it was like 12-foot wingspan. That's pretty awesome. My audio's doubling. Shouldn't be. I know why. How about now? It's probably my monitor over there. Sometimes I'll wear headphones, but a lot of times I don't because I feel like, like Joe Rogan and those guys will wear headphones, but I don't like hearing myself. Like, I want to set the audio up, have a visual of it. I check it in the headphones to start, but I don't want to have to wear headphones while I'm. It just it feels weird to like hear myself talk. So that's why sometimes I got to ask you guys, hey, is the audio working right? But ah, I don't even know if I can tell you about this, but I have a new battery release coming up. I like put these teasers out there, and like I don't even know if I'm allowed to, but I do have a new battery technology. I have two samples of them. They are they are for um, they are for freestyle FPV drones. Let me see if that battery's online right now. I know it is a 6S battery. Uh, yes, they are online. So they are not a secret anymore. So I'm going to show you. And it's a good thing that you're watching. If you're tuned in right now, let me go grab them real quick. Now I'm allowed to review these because they finally came out, but the company didn't tell me, hey, we released them. And this company is a company that a lot of you guys know of if you've been in the industry or you've been into FPV for a while. This company's ISDT. So they sent me these. Um, and let me grab an official. Oh crap! I just opened up the wrong application. Don't you hate when you do that? You click on like the biggest, giantest, largest app you have that takes up all the memory. Let me close that. Okay, going back to Safari. I believe these are 6S 1300s. Okay. Um, I'm gonna drop the link into the chat. So if you want to buy one with my affiliate link, that would benefit me. Um, and they come in 2 packs. So don't be surprised when you see like $60 or so for two. All right. So here's the link for the specs so you guys can kind of follow along. I'll pull those up on the screen right now. So these just came out and they're by ISDT, and it says that they have wireless app control compatible with SpeedyBee Master 5, the Mark 5, which I have right here. And I did notice that, this one has um, a chip on here for wireless on this flight controller. So, um, I haven't really even got into it yet, but it is called the Bat Air 1300. And these batteries look really nice in person. Let me show you as far as 5-inch freestyle goes or racing. But let me show you that battery up close. Look at that. They have like this like sort of like bronze metallic uh, label on the front. Really nice heat shrink around it, clear heat shrink. And it's double heat shrinked, which is nice. We've got a decently long balance harness right here, and then the XT60 is a decent length too. So you'd have plenty of length to be able to get to your plug on your quad. Um, but look how nice and flat and well made that battery is. That is a nice looking battery. Like, let me just pull up a tattoo for you. I mean, these are probably abused, and I have really given these hell. But I've flown Tattoo for years, and they've always sent me nice batteries to play with. And so look at the difference of this is a 1200 series battery. Okay. Now, it's really even hard to tell how different the side of this battery looks. You can barely even see the cells in here. Um, it just seems to be really well manufactured. Um, I don't know what can't barely see anymore. Trying to see the C rating on this one. Let's go back to the specs. So that's a 6S 1300. Let's go back to the specs here. And it looks like it does come with, you get 2 batteries, which is cool. So I thought that they sent me this this bag with it, like for a freebie, and apparently it comes along with, like, when you buy 2 of these as a set, it comes with this little travel bag, which I think is great. Um, and so if you take this through the airport through TSA, your batteries, when you do your carry-on, don't check them, but put them in your carry-on with this, and it'll sail through TSA a lot quicker if you have a LiPo safe with you, because they know what LiPo safes are. So I always travel with a LiPo safe. But these look like they're $66.99, at least as a first-time new user bonus. I think they're like $70 for 2. Um, if you've already bought stuff off Banggood before. But these are by ISDT, and ISDT makes chargers. This is the first time I've seen them make a battery. And I think that the revolutionary thing about these batteries is that they have programmable programmable features in app, which is interesting. Now, what features those are, I don't know yet, but I will find out. So we have, it looks like, 1 review down here. It says nice quality, good price. LiPo bag seems to have been sitting on the shelf for a decade, but hopefully works. It is kind of a thin material. You know, here's the thing about LiPo bags. So this is a pretty thin material. It does appear to be fairly fire safe. You can see the reflection right there. So it does have that fire safe material. But here's what a lot of people don't know about a LiPo safe bag is the fact that, like, if a fire starts in here, um, eventually it can burn through. So a LiPo safe bag is essentially something for you to get this outside as quick as possible. So it has a zipper around the top and then a little Velcro spot in the front, which is cool. But you could probably fit 6 or 7 6S 1300s in this bag. That's about how big it is. And then a little handle on the top for carrying it to the field, putting it in your car. ADC. Thank you, Guy. I was looking for that and I got sidetracked. I didn't see, where did you see ADC at? Is it very top? Ah, yes. First line on the top. So it says they also, okay, this is good for you guys. Please use my link if you grab a couple of these and try them. It does ship from the US warehouse. Freaking awesome. That is awesome. Do you guys see it on the screen? Let me show you. So right there, it ships from the US. Hell yeah. I wish they'd sent me 4 of these because I am really in the need right now for some new batteries. But I will be reviewing those with my Mark V because apparently the Mark V has the technology that will work with the app for these. And ISDT has been doing smart telemetry type battery charger stuff for a long time. ISDT, one of my favorite companies that make chargers. No offense, Toolkit RC. Let's see here. But they haven't sent us anything in a long time, but I'm glad to see they made a battery. And I'm like looking for I believe there's a board in here somewhere, and that may be why it's real flat on one side. This almost feels like this is like a layer. This is like a layer of metal on top of it. There's like a seam on the edge of that, and it's like a some type of metal or something that goes over top of it. So I wonder in the long run, like it's got these little edges down on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. See that little divot right there? Hopefully that doesn't poke into the battery if you crash. So we'll have to test these out and see. Nothing's ever perfect, but I'm going to keep an eye on that. You could also take these off because these are heat shrinked on there. That may be just to make it look pretty. But it says it has a great discharge rate. So the whole point of this battery is to be able to like probably change some of the amp draw settings on it. Yeah, the orange looks like aluminum or something, some type of. It's really thin though, but I wonder, maybe that's just going to give you more protection, more puncture protection in a crash, a lot more. So yeah, we'll have to see how those work out. I got these last week, and I was pretty happy to pull these out of the bag. I didn't realize what I was opening. I saw it said like a lipo sticker, lipo warning on the outside of the box, but I didn't realize it was lipos. Johnny D said all you've been using is GMB. Yeah, I used to use a lot of GMB, but they took a falling out. Like I don't know why. GMB hasn't sent me anything in a while. I also have while I have you guys here, and I'm about to end the stream because I gotta run soon, and I gotta take my girlfriend to the airport. We have a new Lumineer review coming up, and I also want to and they want me to use it for a while, this product for a while before I show it to you guys. But it should be here this weekend, and I'm gonna start using it. I'm not gonna be the first guy in the world to review it. They'll probably send it out to other people, but I'm not gonna rush to be first because I want to actually use it and like try it before I'm like, hey, this is the best product ever. I did not say there's a walk snail review soon, but there may be a Cadex review soon. And a Lumineer review. And there's another company I want to tell you, but I can't say it because I think I'm under NDA. Yes, I am, because it's sitting right over there, and I just remembered it's sitting right there. It may be a new drone coming, but I can't tell you whose. So yeah, new drones, new stuff coming out. It's summertime. Be thankful. There's new releases coming out. We're not dead in the water yet. We're not banned. We're still a community, and there's a whole bunch of new stuff coming. So I'm super excited. It's summertime, and I'm ready to go out and fly. So if you're local, let's get up and fly. If you're not local, come out to the West Coast and let's all get together and fly. We should have another drone camps event sometime this summer since it's so nice. Last time we had a ball. We had like 40 people show up at our last drone event, and it was really cool because I met like some new friends that I'm still very good friends with. These guys, very nice. Dan in Asia, for example, and Randy, some folks that I met, and a whole bunch of other people. But yeah, it's summertime, so I want you to leave this live stream today feeling good about the hobby, yourself, the new releases, and where we're headed as a hobby. Because I think I think we are going to be absolutely fine, and we're still going to have fun, and that's the point, right? And that's the point about this hobby. Still some amazing things coming out. We're still innovating slowly, but we are innovating, right? So I'm gonna say goodbye now for now, and I want you to go out today and fly at least one pack. Go out and fly at least one pack, and report to me on the next live stream, and let me know how you did. Yeah, happy flying, you guys. Happy FPV, and if I don't, I'll probably see you over the weekend. We'll do a live stream over the weekend. Any other news comes up by Friday, and I'll let you know for sure on the channel. So stay tuned for a great new review coming out on Thursday or Friday. and more live streams coming up. I'll keep you in the loop. All right, guys. Take care. Be well.